Hello, hello, all my beautiful souls. I am beyond blessed for you to be here with me today. Welcome to Rewriting Your Story. And just by you taking the step and taking the moment to want to learn how to tap into your healing journey, be proud of yourself because not many people are wanting to learn how to heal, wanting to learn how to fully embrace who they are. And you are doing the damn thing. So give yourself grace. But first, before we dive into today's content, I want to give you a little backstory on why I am so passionate about today's course, why I decided to create today's course, and the whole entire freaking purpose of today and why you are even here. And so I'm going to take you back 26 years because honestly, I have had trauma my entire life. I have had trauma before I even existed, and I know you have experienced the same. And so, with that being said, when you are learning to overcome those traumas, I just want you to understand that trauma is not about what happened to you, but it is about what happened within you. So as I talk and go on with today's content, I want you to really keep that in mind and fully embrace and fully embody that the things that happen to you, yes, they are unfortunate, but they really aren't exactly what happened to you. And so, with that being said, I know some of you guys are watching on Facebook right now, and others are watching on Zoom. And then I have some who couldn't show up and are watching the recording, and that is okay. However, you're watching, I just want you to understand the main takeaway, and that is that you are absolutely responsible for your healing journey. And so, with today, like I said, I'm going to take you back kind of before my existence. So you kind of have the backstory of how I became the person I am today, as well as the personal experience that I've became today. Then I'm going to share you the tools I used, and then we are going to lead it with a quick meditation. And then you guys are good to go and rock and roll. And obviously, I want you guys to be as responsive as you possibly can. So if you're on Facebook, drop comments in the chat. If you're on Zoom, drop comments and questions in the chat. And if you're watching the recording, just know that you can always reach out to me on Instagram or through my emails, and either myself or my team will get back to you as quickly as possible. So with that being said, you guys, again, welcome to Rewrite Your Story. I am Cheyenne Williams. I am a holistic trauma specialist. I literally love to help people biohack their healing journey through feminine embodiment and holistic alternatives. And what that means is that it doesn't matter if you're masculine or feminine, if you're man, woman, dog, cat, unicorn, we all have feminine and masculine energy, and we have to learn how to unite both of them so that we can have our most divine power and really show up in life the way we are supposed to. So with that being said, so many decades ago, I am African American and Italian. So with that, you have so much generational trauma coming from just those two descents, right? From the African American culture, you have the slave trade, you have the Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, civil rights, all of those things, right? With the Italians, it's the same thing. They were seen as minorities to the Caucasian population. They were sold into slave trades as well to Germany and Europe and the Nazis and all the things. And so when you take those two cultures, combining them together, you are literally stirring up a pot of a hot mess, generational trauma express. And I say that in the most loving way. Okay. I love who I am. I love the fact that I have such amazing cultures and so much amazing traditions in my lineage and throughout my history and throughout my family. But just by the slave trade alone and just by the religious aspects that come from the Italians, it's very traumatizing to your genetic code. Okay. So generational trauma, for those of you that don't really know or aren't really familiar with it, generational trauma lives in your DNA for up to 13 generations. So there are 13 generations before me that I have never met that are impacting my day-to-day today. Just like how everything I am doing today is impacting 13 generations after me. And I will probably never get to meet them because there will be great, 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 great grandkids, right? But that also motivates me to want to break the cycle. So when you have the generational trauma, it can lead to your subconscious ingrained. So what that means is that the lack of security, the lack of self-esteem, the lack of worth, the limiting beliefs around money, all of those things are playing into your subconscious and you have no control over them happening to you. Meaning 100% of you have trauma that you're not even mindfully aware of. And so with that, just for that alone, you have to be responsible to heal that so that you are no longer passing that down into your family lineage. So for the Black culture, if you grow up with an African American descent or even the Jewish descent, a lot of times back in the days, you were killed for being who you are, or you were sold for being who you are. And now, obviously, in modern society, that's not really going to happen, right? That's not the likelihood of that happening, depending on where you are in the world. But that still lives within us. So as we are wanting to show up in our truth, as we are wanting to show up in our power, we are going to be more held back just because of what our ancestors went through. So now you kind of have the generational trauma aspect of what has been going on and dictating my subconscious. Now, if you fast forward to my mother getting pregnant with me, I love my mom. My mom did everything she possibly could. My dad traveled a lot for work though. He worked a lot. They were together. They had a happy marriage, but he traveled a lot. So even though my mom and dad were in this amazing marriage, she kind of was a single mom. And at the time, I was her second child. She had just had a miscarriage, and then she had my brother. So my mom had a lot of her own traumas, and she was highly stressed during my pregnancy alone. And so with that, she was releasing extra testosterone to my fetus. And when you're releasing extra testosterone to a female fetus, you are actually giving them more masculine tendencies. So this balance of feminine and masculine energy that is always in desired union, when you're in utero and you are given more masculine, now is kind of not balanced, right? So I'm being born with an unbalance of my hormones already, setting me up to show up into the world in this undesirable way because of the simple fact that my energy was not in union. And so when I showed up into this world, I obviously had more tomboyish traits, right? I had more masculine energy than feminine energy. So I was very tomboy. I hung out with the guys. I was seen as one of the guys. It was amazing, right? My sexuality was always something that I was unbalanced with and uncertain of until about high school. And it was one of those things where I never really had relationships. Not only did I battle with my sexual orientation, but now I was getting bullied because I was too boyish to hang out with the girls, but none of the guys wanted to date me because I was seen as one of the guys. Right. And so as you go through elementary school and middle school with these beliefs that I will never find love because of who I am and how I was meant to be. And I'm showing up as my true and real and raw self, but no one was accepting it. You learn to shut down, you learn to dim your light. And so literally for as long as I could possibly remember, I was never comfortable enough to show up in my true identity just because of that. And when I was 6 years old, that is when I got my first diagnosis with separation anxiety disorder. I simply thought that I was just crazy. I was like, I can't go to school. I'm crying. I need to stay home with my mom, not realizing that just a year before, when I was 5 years old, 9/11 happened. And that, even though I thought didn't impact me, obviously that shook the entire world. That shook the entire collective energy to where now I never wanted to leave my mom's side. So whereas I was already getting bullied at school for being who I was, now I was getting bullied because I was hiding under desks and crying and wanting to be with my mom and not wanting to hang out. And it literally just intensified my anxiety and intensified the lack of security that I had within myself. And then as you fast forward through all of the middle school and all of the elementary school stuff that I was telling you about, and I enter into high school and I started to be like, okay, new year, new me, I'm older, I have things, right? I'm going into a school that is outside of my neighborhood. So none of these kids know me. They don't even live in my neighborhood. I'm literally driving 45 minutes to go to high school. And what happened was I finally had the confidence to express my sexual expression, to tap into my feminine energy, to be able to express all of my emotions. And then I started to get bullied with well, now you're a whore because you're walking around with hickeys on your neck. Now you're a whore because you're making out with guys at football games. Oh, now you are a dyke because now you're playing basketball and wanting to hang out with more girls. And so even though I had the confidence to really show myself, that confidence soon dwindled away because of the fact that no one was accepting me. I started to get bullied again. And again, that kind of just ate. And I turned to basketball as my safe haven. I told myself, if no one is going to accept me, the one person that can accept me is Spalding. And for those of you that don't know, Spalding is a basketball brand. They make the big orange ball. And so that was my boyfriend. That was my girlfriend. That is who I wanted to be. I wanted to just literally live life holding onto a basketball and like nothing else. So if you think of a little kid with a teddy bear that never wants to let him go, right? Or if you think of like the Charlie Brown movie with the guy with the blanket, that was me with basketball. I literally ate, breathed, and slept basketball. I was seen as the gym rat. I would get to practice at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would go to school. I would go to practice after in the afternoon, and I would stay there until my mom literally had to pull me out. And I would do that every single day. And then I would ask my mom to sign me up for these private trainings and these private sessions and all the things. And she did. She did. Because in my family, if you wanted to go to college, you had to get an athletic scholarship. So again, money mindset was ingrained into me at such a young age to where I always looked at going to college as something that would never be upheld, something that would never be achieved unless I had to be the best of the best when it came to sports. And even though that is something that I'm so grateful for and something that I admire, my work ethic and all the lessons that came from it, it wasn't healthy because even though I was already isolated, I started to isolate myself even more. And then when you fast forward out of high school, having all of the experiences I've had, and to top on that, I was getting sexually abused before I was even 18. When I went to college, I saw it as my key to escape reality. I refused to go to college that was in the state of California because I wanted to get the fuck away from my family. I wanted to get as far away as I possibly can from high school and anyone being able to run into me. And I went to school in St. Louis. I got my basketball scholarship. It was amazing. I played my freshman year. I got injured. So then I had to redshirt and sit it out. Then come sophomore year, I was able to play again. I was super pumped. And then I got raped again. And then I got pregnant and I lost my scholarship and my world crumbled. And at that pivotal point, when my scholarship got taken away from me, my world came falling down. If you think of like the easiest way to explain it, since I have kids, I use a lot of like game metaphors and kid metaphors. If you have the game Jenga where you're like building the blocks and all the things, and then you just push it over and they all fall over, that is literally what my life felt like. It felt like someone pulled the rug from underneath me and everything I knew, everything I was, everything I am, literally just deteriorated. And then not on top of that, I was a young mom. I was 18 and pregnant in another state. And a lot of people were like, okay, well, why didn't you move back home? That would have been the easy thing to do. You're right. But I didn't want to do the easy thing. I wanted to follow my intuition, and something in my gut was just telling me to continue to stay out of state, continue to be a single mom, to continue to be a young mom, and to just figure this shit out. And I did. But as I was figuring it out, it became those darkest days and those darkest moments to where I would literally be sleeping on the floor because I couldn't afford furniture. I couldn't afford utilities. So for those of you who've never left California, the Midwest winters are beyond freezing. It'd be like -5 degrees and I'm sleeping on a hardwood floor with a blanket and a pillow, and my 6-month-old child is next to me in her car seat. And even though that is the life I was living, and a lot of times I was looking at my daughter to be like, I want to give up. I don't want to keep going. I don't know what to do. Every time I looked at her, she would just start to laugh. And that laugh is what saved me. And I still hear that laugh in my head every single day during every hard time. And I pushed through it. And you want to know what happened? 3 months later, after being heavily suicidal, heavily depressed, wanting to give up, being extremely broke, having to steal for food, being on the verge of eviction, I met the man of my dreams, who is now my fiance and who is now the father of my child, Ryu, and is the most amazing fairy tale story ever. But I had to go through the really hard times to even meet him. And he met me at my breaking point. He met me when I was damaged. And even though I met someone who loved me, who loved my daughter for who we were and what we are, and even though he would do the things that I'd be like, why are you doing it? He would sleep on the floor with us when he had a whole bed at his own house. And I thought I was going to be fixed after that. I thought he could fix me. And boy, I was wrong. I became the abuser. So after leaving a 3-year abusive intimate partner violent relationship, I now became the abuser because my ego was telling me that it's too good to be true. Right? And so the thing with your ego is your ego loves to stay comfortable. It loves to be comfortable. So if you're constantly doing something over and over and over and over again, whether it's your life and whether it's good or bad, if your ego becomes comfortable with that, as soon as you change it, your ego is going to be like, wait a minute, what are we doing? This is not okay. Like we have to go back. So subconsciously you self-sabotage, and subconsciously you start to do things to bring that pattern back to you. And that is what it was doing to me. It started to make me pick fights for no reason. It's made me start to assume things that weren't even happening. I was literally telling myself like, oh yeah, it's okay. He doesn't need to cheat because we could just have a threesome. And in the back of my head, I'm like, why am I assuming he's cheating? Like he hasn't even cheated yet, but I'm telling people that I know he's going to do it. So he doesn't have to do it. So I'm going to create this weird open relationship to like save me from being hurt. And it only started to manifest into reality. And it started to manifest into him actually thinking that he could really cheat on me and that it would be okay because I said it was okay. And I would tell the world publicly it was okay. And when it happened, guess what? It was not okay. And so for 3 years, we were constantly in this battle of the biggest mess, to where I started to become the person that was emotionally and verbally abusing him. I would literally remember us getting into fights and I'd be like, what are you going to do? Hit me? Go ahead and hit me, hit me, hit me. And I would push him and push him and push him, hoping he would just punch me in the face one day, because that is what my ego knew. That is what my ego was comfortable with. And when he wouldn't, it would throw me for a loop because I was like, what are you doing? I'm literally telling you to hit me. Why are you not hitting me? Right. And at that moment, when I got pregnant with Ryu, and I knew I had to fix something, I brought my daughter into that mess. I saw my daughter experience for the first 3 years of her life, her mom being this crazy damaged person, this crazy hurt person. And I refused to bring another child into that. And so at that moment, I realized that I was going to rewrite my freaking story. And I did. And what I did is I started to hire and really get in tuned with the help I need. And I realized that traditional psychology wasn't working for me because it hadn't worked for me since I was 6 years old. And even though I had given up and was like, I'm going to figure this out by myself, I decided that there had to be other ways. And so I went to Google University. I looked up all of the different ways for mental health, and I saw breath work. And the crazy thing is with breath work, a lot of times people would be like, oh yeah, breathing is not going to help you. Like, what do you mean? All you got to do is breathe? Like, this bullshit. No, it's not. That is the moment that I saw the biggest shift, the biggest change. And when I decided to see a hypnotherapist, meaning someone who literally spends a whole entire hour leading me through a meditative state, I was mind blown that this was the missing piece. And if I would have known this 10 years before that, I would have changed my game and I would have rewrote my story long before Amante or Audrey or my son would have came into the picture. And my life would have been way different. But I realized that I had to experience all of those rock bottom moments to push me, to give me the push and the motivation I needed to actually make that shift and to actually make that change. And once I made that change, I never looked back. And 4 years down the road, I am the biggest, most inspirational like story when it comes to myself, because every day I wake up mind blown at how far I have came. And so some of those techniques that I have used, I talked about, is meditation, right? So every single day I meditate for 10 minutes a day. I wake up in the morning, I guide myself through a meditative state. And if you are wanting to have like some meditations and not really know where to start, you can go to YouTube, but you can also DM me or email me on Instagram or drop a comment in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or Zoom, and tell me that you would like some meditations. And I'll send you my link on how you can get access to my self-embodiment meditations. But I would meditate every single day. I still do. I teach my children how to meditate with me. I do breath work, and I'm going to guide you through a meditation and breath work at the end of this course so that you can kind of get familiar with it, or kind of see like a sneak peek of what it would be like. I do mirror therapy. So every single day before I get into the shower, I stand in the bathroom mirror naked and I tell myself, I love you. And the really awesome thing is I teach that to my basketball girls. So you heard me talk about how I lost my scholarship in college and how I lost the first love of my life, which was basketball. And now I rewrote my story to where now I get to teach high school basketball. I get to teach 13, 14, 15-year-old girls how to love themselves, because I didn't know how to love myself in high school. And so every single day before they step foot into practice, they have to go to the bathroom and tell themselves they love them. And I do the same thing every single day. And mirror work helps you not only be able to face yourself eye to eye and give yourself a compliment and give yourself words of wisdom, but it allows you to be comfortable in your own being and in your own body. And for some reason, people are not comfortable being naked, and I don't understand why, but we have to learn how to be comfortable in our truth and in our bodies and in our sacred temples. And that is the perfect way to do that. And then, lo and behold, my favorite secret is journaling. I never go anywhere without my journal. I have my journal in my pocket before I even have my cell phone. And journaling has saved my life, because a lot of times we lack communication. And what biggest way than to communicate with yourself than by writing your thoughts, your emotions, and venting onto a piece of paper, whether that is good, bad, or in between. So journaling is the biggest tip that I can tell you to help rewrite your story, because it doesn't allow you to keep your thoughts and your emotions trapped in your mind. And instead of trying to analyze them mentally, you can write them on a piece of paper, which makes them real. And then you can analyze it, and then you can work through it. And it's the most beautiful thing ever. And then the last two tools that I use to rewrite my story are my eating habits. I changed my eating habits. I started to focus on my gut health. I started to improve what I was eating and removed all of the inflammatory ingredients. And I learned that what you eat dictates your serotonin levels, and your serotonin level is what dictates your depression and your anxiety. So I figured that if taking out milk and ice cream and cheese and pizza and pasta out of my routine was going to make me happier, I was going to figure out a way to do that. And so I did. And for the last 3 years, not only have my body felt better, but I had more natural energy, but I've also been happier. And I've noticed that when I eat those ingredients, when I have the ice cream, when I have the dairy, when I have the cheese, when I have the coffee, on those days, I am most anxious and most depressed. So what do? I start over, and the next day I take them out. So just be more mindful of what you guys are eating. And then the last one is I hired professional help, right? I hired help because the thing is with holistic specialists, we hold a mirror up for you. We are literally that person that is, you know what, where you're going to face yourself in the mirror. You're going to face yourself in the mirror. You're going to see your truth, and you're going to embody your truth. And even if you don't want to, we're going to hold this mirror up until you finally decide you're going to. And if you try to dodge it, we're going to move that mirror and be like, nope, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You have to face yourself. You have to face your truth. You're not hiding. And that is the beautiful thing that I love to talk about, is because we don't talk about what happened to you. We talk about the internal psychological wounds within, and we hold the mirror up so that you can learn to face those wounds and face those belief systems and face those lies you've been telling yourself, so that you can start to see the truth. And so with all of that, when you do those things over and over and over and over again, you start to rewire your neural pathways. You start to biohack your healing. And that is the true game changer. It's not about talking about what happened. It's not about going to a regular therapist and talking about your emotions. It's about getting internally and rewiring and releasing the tension that is stored within your body. And so if you think about it on a more logical level, if you think about it, if you bang your elbow or bang your arm against the wall and you get a bruise, that's the same thing internally. If you have a heartbreak, if you have a family death, if you are a little kid and your ice cream drops on the floor, that leaves an internal bruise. And until you heal that bruise is always going to be there. So what happens if you have a physical bruise and you keep poking it? That bruise is going to get bigger. That bruise isn't going to heal. And it's the same thing internally. If you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you keep poking that bruise and thinking that one day you're just not going to be triggered, that bruise is going to get bigger and it's going to expand and it's going to consume you. And so my job is to teach you how to manage yourself so that that moment when you want to poke yourself, you have enough self-control to stop yourself. That way you can actually heal. And so for the last 5 minutes, what I want to do is, if you are able to, if not, you have access to the recording, so you can always watch back. But I want to lead you through a really quick 5-minute meditation so that you can actually see how impactful the meditation is, but also kind of give you an idea if you want to have access to more of my meditations, or if you want to take this on as a practice for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I want you to do is I want you to get in a really comfortable position. If you could, if you're laying down, obviously don't get in a comfortable position. But I want you to kind of just set an intention, set a focus that you are maybe going through right now. Maybe you're experiencing something that you want to let go of. Maybe your heart is really heavy. Maybe it's not. Whatever comes to your mind first, don't think about it, just let it be and just sit there. And you can absolutely close your eyes if you'd like. If you want to leave them open, you absolutely can too. If you want to lay down, if you want to sit down, if you feel the urge in your body to move, that is okay as well. The thing about meditation is that it doesn't have to be quiet. A lot of people get frustrated because they believe they have to be quiet and they have to not do anything. And the truth is meditation is a practice. You have to practice to be able to quiet your mind. You have to practice to be able to bring you back when your thoughts start to drift. And that is what we're doing. We're going to practice today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. So I want you to take a moment to come to a comfortable seated position, turning your attention towards your breath and making any adjustments required for comfort. Go ahead and close your eyes or lower your gaze. And when you feel ready, notice any tension you might be holding onto in your jaw area. Without any judgment, allow yourself to seep downwards and into the earth. Notice any tension you might be holding in your neck or on your shoulders. And see if you can allow that tightness to melt slowly away. Allow it to run down your body and into the ground. Allow yourself to transform. Now, I'd like you to imagine a blanket. This blanket is made from the most beautiful, delightful material you can possibly think of. For some, it might be silk. For others, it might be soft, warm fleece. And for others, that blanket might actually be a person. Now, I want you to notice the colors of the blanket. Is it solid or multicolored? Let it be whatever you want it to be. Allow those colors to gravitate towards you. Anything that soothes you, anything that comforts you. Imagine this blanket draping over you in the most gentle, loving way. And as it touches your body, you realize that this blanket is infused with deep, unquestioning, unconditional love. That love is empathy. Feel the love that this blanket carries. Feel it in every muscle, every cell, and every organ. Allow this blanket to embrace you, to embody you. Just like the sunlight on a warm day, penetrating every single part of you. See if you can take in what it feels like to embrace this, to bathe in love, to embody kindness, and to understand that you can love yourself unconditionally. And if your mind starts to drift, allow yourself to come back to the sense of the blanket. When you feel ready, I want you to take a moment to tune into your heart. Maybe calm on your heart. Maybe give yourself a hug. But offer yourself gratitude for this practice, knowing that it's just that. Gently let your sense of that blanket dissolve if it already hasn't, knowing that it's available to you anytime, always. It's portable and doesn't take up space. And just know that it's always in your pocket whenever you need it. When you are ready, come back to your breath and then to your scent of the seat beneath you. Slowly open your eyes when you are ready. And thank you for allowing me to practice with you today. Awesome. Awesome. Oh my gosh, yes, you're welcome. I'm so glad you loved it. I would love to hear how you guys are feeling right now. So if you're on Facebook, drop it in the chat. If you're on Zoom, drop it in the chat. I love that. I love that. Yes, yes. I felt the warmth of my heart pulsating in my hand. That is, yes, that is deep. Okay. Well, guys, that is the end of rewriting your story. Make sure you check your emails or check your junk inbox. Sometimes my emails get stuck in there so that you have the lifetime access. Also, I am going to give you some more juicy secrets and more juicy tips and all of the different ways that you can work with me. And because you decided to show up today, I am giving you special offers just for you. They're all inclusive and all exclusive. So I love you guys, and go have the most amazing and powerful day. And I appreciate you guys too. Mwah.